Camera's rolling.
Baby, I'm too young to know any better, but I guess I'm just too old to care. I'm waiting on the morning light to clear the air. Now the sky is hung with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you created. The one that you hated. Now the sky is hung with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you.
Good morning, everybody. It is the weekend. How are you doing? It is Dad Talk today. We're going to be doing it live. I got Mr. Robert Garza joining me. Robert, what's up, brother?
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
It's going all right, man. Really quick, guys, as we always say, if you'd like to support the show, down there at the bottom, Dad Talk Today, no spaces. That's Cash App, Venmo, Patreon. Many ways you can support this podcast. One of the most important ways is pulling out that phone or whatever you're watching on. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and ding the bell so you get notifications when we go live. There's super chats and memberships over there on YouTube, and we got the same thing over on Facebook. We actually have our store up now, Robert. You got your cup today? There you go. Yeah, man, we're getting the pictures in from the people that have been getting it. It's really cool. Let me go over that store with everybody really quick.
I woke up and it was full of half ice today.
Yeah, I'm sorry it's taken us a while to get this, but we've got the new items in the shop. Instead of asking fathers to fight harder, start asking mothers why he had to fight it all. Man, I'd love to have a million guys walking down the street with that on their back. I got the hats. I'm going to be adding some new stuff in it too. These are some of the older shirts we still got left over. I'm a soldier in the war against parental alienation. Parental alienation is child abuse. I support equal shared parenting. Really cool stuff, man. But if you guys would like to check that out, go over to dadtalktoday.com and go into the shop and you can see what all we got going on. Really quick, I did a little last minute broadcast on it yesterday. And again, this is an open discussion. Whatever you guys want to talk about, we got a few voicemails down there and I got to address something with that voicemail line here in a second. But we got a few voicemails we'll be bringing up. Yesterday, I got the news. We finally have a date set for the John Mass trial. And God, man, I'm praying, guys, we don't get this moved back again. It's been there 4 times. Charlie, awesome. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to see you guys out there. The John Mass case is one that we followed for the past 2 years. And dude, some of the messages that I got, look, guys, it's not about addressing haters or anything like that, but some of the messages that I got on this, why aren't you raising money for me? Eric, why aren't you raising money for all of these guys that are going through this? Dude, we get you've seen this in the support group. We get hundreds of requests for GoFundMes every single day. There is no way, guys. Even this one right here, I'm putting all of my attention behind it. Let me pull this up. This is John's. We raised up $2,330 yesterday. 1,000 of that was me. Okay. We got to make it up to about 50 grand. They need this. And I promise you, as more updates come out, I'll be putting that out there. But it is very hard. The people that follow this show, most of you guys, we already know you're broke. You're probably going through this system. And it's really hard on the backside. Why does this one mean so much to me? One, John's not here to take up for himself anymore. It's been left on the back of his friends and family. Okay. And we've got to get that out there. At the same time, this is a very, very important case, man. And like I said, I'd love to get some more details out there. I'm going to put the link down there in the chat. I'm going to have to be blasting this every day until we get there. And I believe that we can do it.
Thank you, Julie.
Yes. Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much. But look, dude, on all of my platforms, I've been going wide open, and that's what we've got, guys. We got a long way to go on it. I think there's a lot of misconceptions that because we have tons of followers, that there's just like tons of money coming through, and it couldn't be further from the truth, guys. This is a struggle. You know, I mean, I have had so many sponsors that have came to this show like, hey, we want to sponsor you. We want to do this. And it's like, yeah, but if you're wanting to sell products, you know, I know what you guys are going through.
Yeah.
Right. I wish it was that way. I mean, now, if we were fighting on the other side of the aisle with this thing, there's government grants. There's all kinds of stuff that you can fight with when it comes specifically for fathers' rights, custody exchange murders and stuff. I don't see any of it out there, dude. I just don't.
And the John Mass Foundation does more than, you know, just prosecuting or going, you know, for John's trial or anything. They're out there changing and lobbying to change laws with us and everything else to help everyone for false allegations and family court, you know, how to reform it and everything else. We have meetings all the time with them. You know, they're so much more than just, you know.
Well, now I want to correct you on something. I'm not raising this for the John Mass Foundation.
Oh, okay.
I'm raising this for his family. His family has got to go up against this court case, guys, and I know it's probably going to string out for a long time. Again, why am I so interested in this case and wanting to help? If without the Mass family, we would not be here right now. You understand that?
True.
I'm just going to tell you, without the family of John Mass, there is no way we would be able to come to you and be live right now. They have supported me in so many different ways, guys. They always show up to these events. They have been the ones that have picked up a lot of the slack that we've had and made sure that we can here and do what we're doing now. So I can't let them down, dude. And I want to do this. I really do. And
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
We had more of their family members show up to us to lobby to change laws and get stuff changed than our members showing up at the capitals and whatever else at one point.
Dude, there was one day when the Mass family joined up with us. We was at the Capitol there in Boise, Idaho. We stayed there the whole day, walking that Capitol, wearing blisters out in our feet, guys. I don't think there was a room there that we didn't go and talk to those legislators. There just wasn't. When they come together and they fight behind something, they mean it. Now, that segues into the John Mass Foundation, which has been really hard because when these cases happen, they're red hot. And then a little bit of time goes by and then more cases start happening and people start forgetting about what was going on over here, right? There hasn't been a court case on this thing yet, but the family went and set up the John Mass Foundation. I've talked numerous times about the need for several different organizations that specialize in certain things. We need somebody that specializes in CPS. We need somebody that specializes in child support and Title IV-D reform. We need somebody that specializes in paternity fraud like Carnell Smith. They are wanting to turn the John Mass Foundation into an organization that fights against false allegations and raises the awareness about what's going on at these custody exchanges. And again, you know, that was one of those things. I guess they're getting to see it a little bit more. We are very limited on the resources that we've got. So it's been hard to get that thing off the ground. And then at the same time, it's been hard to tell people what's going on with John's case because it's been a whole lot of nothing. It reminds me of these guys that come in here with their family law case, dude. And they're like, man, it just keeps getting pushed back. It keeps getting pushed back more and more. I haven't seen my kid. I haven't seen my kid. When am I going to get to go to court? They got in court to pay child support. They'll get you in there right away to go ahead and get that money flowing. But when it comes to time with your kids, they just keep pushing it further and further back. At the same time, there was 2 kids that lost their dad, and there was a family that lost their son. Okay. And it was the same thing with John, dude. John would never have been able to exonerate himself or fight as long as he did without his family, dude. So this is one time that I am begging everybody in this community, Share that, donate to it. I am willing to give away the biggest Dad Talk Today package I've ever gave to whoever shares that the most. Say you're one of those that's saying, hey, I'm broke, I don't have any money right now. That's okay. That's one of the ways that you can contribute. Like, share it, subscribe. Not while that's talking about the show. Share that GoFundMe. Okay.
That's right.
It means a lot to me, man.
That's a good
It
way
does.
to do it. If you can't send money, I mean, just share the link. I mean, you have a ton of people on your Facebook pages.
I guess the part that pisses me off about this the most, and it does for all of you guys, nobody should have to be spending this type of money or raising this type of money to get justice. Nobody. I think the whole construct of the courts is just preposterous. It really is, man. And guys, this isn't the only story that we're following right now. I was supposed to have Alec Larson on today. Robert, I think that was before you really started doing anything with Dad Talk, but that's the one. His 7-year-old man died at the mom's house, drinking the bottle of water that she didn't know her mom was smoking crystal meth out of. Gave the little girl a heart attack, man. So one of the quick updates and why we're wanting to get Alec back on here is it wasn't just mom that was involved in this. She had her friends over there. And these friends tried to perform all these different rituals on this little girl, man, because they didn't want her to go to the hospital because they knew they was going to get in trouble. And she died. And they waited hours before they called the ambulance. And that girl would still be here. Well, one of them tried to leave the country to get away from this, but she's back in the country. And this dad is pissed. He was like, I want people to know what's going on because I need to get justice for my little girl. And he deserves it. 100% deserves it, man. And these are just some of the cases that we're fighting behind the scenes. I got to talk to another gentleman later on today whose 14-year-old son died, man. Diabetic. Mom was off doing drugs. He went into a diabetic coma, had 2 heart attacks. We're starting to get into some territory here, which we've been there for a while now, though. But these stories, man, they weigh on you, brother.
They do. That's a lot of stuff going on. And I don't think people realize, I mean, we're on the air and you see us every morning, but we are constantly hearing about these stories, covering these stories, vetting these stories. You know, a lot of people want us to interview them. You can come in the support group and I'll do it if there's something that you know, the listeners can learn from it or whatever. But for the most part, we don't do cases that are current litigation simply because they will use it against you. A lot of people don't know how to put a stopper on the you know, have a filter. They will turn anything and everything you say against you, and it more than likely won't do anything positive for your case.
Yeah, dude. And so, and it sucks because you want to be there for everybody, but the amount of emails that I got right now of people sending me court documents, I had one just yesterday, 50 freaking pages long, man. I'm not an attorney. I'm a podcaster. I'm trying to sound the alarm about what's going on, but I can't do anything with your personal case. And it's not that I don't love you guys. I think it's the overall problem. Sometimes we are talking about the sensational stories because that's what people listen to, because the media has made them that way. Unfortunately, when it comes to most of these cases, society hasn't been very empathetic to what's going on. If they did, it wouldn't have got this way in the first place. And so that kind of gets me into this. Deborah, did you stop the voicemail line? No, I've got some voicemails on here, but people think that's a way to get in touch with me personally so that I can help them with their case. I am not going through that, guys. The voicemail line is slammed right now. I don't want you to play this message on there, but Eric, I need you to get in touch with me. That's not what it was for. That voicemail line, even though it's only 3 minutes, it was a way for you guys to reach out and do this. And Robert, again, I know we shouldn't talk too much about the behind the scenes. One of the things that angers me the most is most of these people that are begging us to do stuff for them, I never see here on the show. Ever.
They just pop in like, oh, they got something going on here. Let me call the whatever. But they're all those calls are screened. We never hear any of them.
And you're wearing us down from what we're trying to do, man, because we want to make sure we're getting this out. Look, 7 days a week, got a podcast going out about family law, and we're going to be doing some different stuff, okay? This is the number one topic that we're going to be talking about on this show. Sunday, we're going to start something different. We're going to start like dating tips with Jimmy Smith. I really love Jimmy's going to be talking about numerous stuff as this goes along, but this is one of the ways that we can prevent some of this stuff from happening. He's also wanting to talk about men's health and numerous different things. I don't know if you guys got to catch that episode last Sunday, but I really enjoyed talking to Jimmy, man. His story, Robert. So Jimmy is actually one of the real life characters from the Magic Mike movie.
Mhm.
I forget which one it was, but there's an actor inside the Magic Mike movie that is playing him. The last chapter of that comes out sometime this month. But he was also a Chippendale and like in the Scout Calendar Men or something like that in a boy band in the early 90s. We was laughing about it yesterday. But dude, what a crazy story. But he's got a lot of tips that he wants to give out there to those guys. So we're going to do this to mix up some of the conversations. I think it's a little hard doing this sometimes because it seems like we're saying a lot of the same things over and over because we are, but we've got to constantly put this message out there for people that are hearing it for the first time. Yesterday, I really enjoyed that conversation with Mr. Ken Alexander. So if you haven't followed his wife's page, the Transform Wife, dude, I thought I got hate over at Dad Talk. Okay. And then every once in a while I'd get on the politicians and then I get some shade thrown that way because it's just going to happen. It's social media. I have never seen the amount of trolls and people that hate what that woman is saying like they are with the Transform Wife over there, talking about being submissive and being a good wife and everything. Dude, it was crazy, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you start talking about stuff like that, people will just come out of the woodwork.
Absolutely, man. But yeah, guys, so there's just several things we wanted to give an update on this morning. You got the shop, and please help me get that GoFundMe out there. That's is really important to me because we need it. We definitely need it. I'm going to get into some of the voicemails I've got saved up on here and some of the ones we got in this morning, and we'll see where the conversation brings us. If there's something that you guys would like to talk about, put it down there at the bottom and we'll get to it. Keep the voicemails coming. As long as you're doing what it's used for, we'll keep the voicemail line going. But right now, guys, if it keeps going that way, this is the part that sucks about it. We don't have paid employees. We don't have like a big company to sit here and keep screening these things. And
the other part is, I mean, they can, if somebody wants to ask a question, we're sitting right here, go in there, post up whatever it is that you want to ask us. I mean, we're here live every morning.
That's what I say. It's usually the people that I never see here on the show, because if I did, they would be down there in the comments and talking to us. We answered you every day. But no, you got to do this with my case. Here's all my court documents. Why the hell are you sending those to me? I can't do nothing for you, man. That's not what this is about.
Unless you're a lawyer, you really don't know what all those words and everything else means. And Eric hasn't gone through some crazy custody battle, I mean, the only reason I know how to read that stuff is because I've been through it. I lived it for 13 years. So come into the support group. You want support with that stuff? Come in the support group. Dad Talk Today support group on Facebook. Post your question in there. There's a lot of people that read lawyer, and so, or I think it's what's it called, legalese or whatever they call it. So anyway, just ask your questions in there, and we'll get your questions answered.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you was on there with Taryn Champagne yesterday doing something called Pro Se Perspective. Guys, if you haven't ever met Taryn, I think he did a really good job on his case. So if you're wanting to know about some of the strategies and stuff inside of family court, we're not attorneys. We're not experts. We're not giving you legal advice, but we are guys that have been through the system and will help in every way that we can. But I'm going to get to this first voicemail. Yeah. Keep them coming. 762-441-0281.
My name is Joe, and I'm calling from Topeka, Kansas, but I went through the majority of the initial divorce and custody fight in Wyoming. If we're talking about the costs of trying to be a father to my son, it started with about $55,000 in divorce and the custody fight, trying to negotiate visitation rights and basically just trying to remain more than an ATM in his life. Child support was then assessed at $1,000 a month, and She ended up, my ex-wife, his mother, ended up moving 4 times without telling me during this whole process. When everything was finally settled in, I had to sell my house and move to be a place where I could actually try to be nearer to him to keep this thing going. That was still, the travel costs to stay in his life were still, on top of everything else, cost upwards of $1,500 a month. During all this, there was massive parental alienation, and fights to, and I was taken to court in order to have to fight to keep her from removing my rights as a father, and enforcing the visitation after she figured out she could just tell me no, and I had to take her to court to actually see my son. This all went on for about 3 years of the intense alienation and fighting everything that was thrown at me. Finally, after a little over 3 years, I just collapsed under the cost and the emotional strain, and I backed out of his life. So, for the most part, I watch from afar and I pay my child support, but I haven't spoken to him in about 2.5 years. So, that's a brief rundown of my story. Thank you.
That pisses me off. It's a constant battle to stay in your children's lives. And when you spent $50,000, you're not a deadbeat dad. And he's paying his child support, and it's on time, and he's still not seeing this kid. He's still supporting this kid, even though he's kept away. This gatekeeping, this alienation stuff, false allegations, everything, the court games. I mean, literally, if you have enough money, you can run somebody. I mean, basically, you can just take away their parental rights at that point, at the time you run out of money, or you chase them off.
You know, and that's just a common story. Here is a guy that did everything he could, and he hasn't seen his kids in years. And because he's not in the picture, if the mom's got some projection to put out there, oh, he abandoned us, he doesn't want anything to do with his kid, people will quickly grab that and just take it as gospel because they don't see him there. They don't see the fights that these guys are doing behind the scenes. And that's why, again, I talk about that narrative all the time, and because it's so true, man, the narrative of the deadbeat dad. There's people that would not knowing what this guy just said, call him a deadbeat.
You know what? I just thought of something. We ought to change the narrative from deadbeat down to beat down dad. Because that's what the family court does.
Well, they've done the dead broke, and they're not deadbeats, they're dead broke. I mean, the thing is, man, I think sometimes being inside this community, people in the comments that all know what's going on, it makes it seem like it's more known out there than what it really is. That narrative has been just planted in people's heads for decades, dude. Do I see some pushback starting to happen? Absolutely. But it's going to have to get much, much more. Noah, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. But it's like I said, it's just been planted in their heads for so long. It's on TV. It's on everywhere, dude. I mean, I was showing somebody Jeff Younger's case the other day when he was speaking there at UNT. Here is a father that was now running for office, spent a couple of $1 million trying to get his kid, had a gag order put on him, told him he couldn't talk about it, yet he kept talking about it. And here's all these kids in that classroom calling him a deadbeat dad.
Yep.
What is your definition of a deadbeat dad? I don't know.
It comes to fight whenever they've already taken, everything you own pretty much, even your kids. I mean, how much worse does it get with them taking your kids and then you still fighting to see them?
Oh, just BS, man. I appreciate that caller, man. And I understand the battle that you're going through. I wish I had better advice for you, man, but just show up. Keep speaking up because there's more dads like you out there.
I got advice for him. So if you haven't seen your kids in 2 years or whatever, just, if you've posted those Facebook, because he's on Facebook apparently, because that's where we're at, keep posting those memories that come up. They'll see that you care about them and that you're thinking about them. They will eventually come looking for you. So, just keep their memory alive and just support them the best way you can from wherever you're at. the other thing is, if there's not a protective order, restraining order, you can actually contact them through you or through someone else. You can volunteer at their school. You can go take flowers or whatever, or balloons on their birthday to the school or whatever else, unless there's a restraining order or protective order. Whether they throw them away, whether at least they know that you care about them and you're thinking about them.
Yeah. Mr. Rivera Louis, what's going on, man? I don't think I've seen you in here before. Everybody, let's welcome him. He said, why is it that they are quick to give free legal help to women and us as fathers have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on lawyers? Because you will, and because you can. Okay. And they know that. Now they can give this free legal advice to the women, and they can get them to challenge you in court. Because what happens a lot of times when they do, you're going to pay for it. You're going to be the one that pays for it. Yep. The system depends on you dads just as much as your kids. Without you dads, the $60 billion a year industry would not happen. It would not exist. And that's why, again, breaking that narrative that we're talking about right now is so important. They depend on you guys. Everything is working the way it was designed. Even the fact that you guys can't show up and try to get grassroots and come after it, it was designed that way. Yeah. Maybe that's not what they had in their head when they did it, but it really has crippled these guys from being able to do anything with their court cases. And if you're somebody that wants to be inside of your child's life, how much are you going to pay? And many times they're going to just bleed that bank account until you don't have anything left and then ask you to settle for whatever they want to give you. You can get your every other weekend. It's criminal, man. We should have equality. And that's where we got to keep that conversation. I'm going to get on to this next voicemail, though. You guys keep them coming in, 762-441-0281.
Hopefully you can get it on the show.
You did.
Long story short, and I did post it in the comments, my ex and I are both alcoholics. I've been clean 2.5 years. She's been clean 3 years. But she's refusing to change the custody order, which was put into effect 6 years ago. I didn't fight it because if I did, he would have been put into foster care. But now that I'm trying to fight it, she will not budge. So how do I change that?
Okay. So we're not lawyers. So anything that we're telling you right now is just from personal experience. If I were him, if there's a circumstance of change, and so that's what the lawyers look for. That could be that you moved somewhere, you moved to a better home, you got a better job. Now you can support the kids, any kind of thing. You can just Google circumstance of change, and then you can file another, you can open up another case. And actually family court really doesn't care. You can open up a case any point, doesn't matter, but that will trigger, it's called a circumstance of change. So you let the court know that there has been a circumstance change, and even maybe sober does it. I don't know about that, but usually a job or moving somewhere will trigger that.
Yeah, man. They can't judge you by your past. Unfortunately, if that's something that you have gotten beyond, many times in the custody battle, that's going to be used against you. So I'm glad that you started this off with saying, look, this is what the scenario was. But definitely do some of the steps that Robert was talking about. And I wish you luck on that, man.
And go volunteer at the school too. I mean, if you have custody, apparently he has custody of his children. He just didn't have enough time, apparently. So go volunteer at the school. Half a day, a whole day. They have what's called watchdog dads. You can go have lunch with your child. All kinds of good things.
Yep. All right, guys, gonna roll on to this next one here.
Hey, this is Sean Peterson calling. I currently reside in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm dealing with a pretty ugly custody dispute out of Polk County, Wisconsin. I've got a court hearing coming up January 17th at 9:30. I have been railroaded by the court process trying to see my kids. It's been going on 2 years now. They have tried everything in their power to tear my kids away from me. I guess I'm making this phone call in hopes any help would be greatly appreciated, whether it's a person to show up with me in court or just to get it out there to let other people know that if you're dealing with Polk County, Wisconsin, they are criminals. They've got stacked up criminal charges against me, trying to prove that I'm the bad guy, which I have stated it several times to my ex and in court. All I care about is what's best for my kids, and I want to see them happy, healthy, and have a normal child life. But apparently, in the eyes of Wisconsin, Polk County especially, if you're a father and you care about your kids, you're a criminal. Again, this is Sean Peterson. Thank you for your time.
You can hear in his voice the pain that he's going through right now, and that's everybody. Everybody going through this has a lot of that pain, and it's not good. I mean, you don't sleep, you don't eat. The stuff that he's going through, I didn't catch his name, but if he's going through criminal court also because they're trying to use whatever against him, unless that's all that these things are. They're scare tactics. So if they have something going on in criminal court at the same time you have going on in family court, they're scare tactics. Now, they can and will be used against you for sure. But in the end, if you're innocent, do not take a plea agreement. Again, this is me going through the same stuff too. I never, when stuff like that would come up, it would be false too. It doesn't stop someone from making allegations against you or for you getting, them opening up something in criminal court. But if you didn't do it, you're innocent. My father always said, just fight until, if you didn't do anything, then just fight it till the end. But if you did, then just, hey, take it like a man and say, okay, let's move forward with this and do whatever you need to do. But if you're innocent, I would never take a plea agreement, ever.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing that happened with Mass, man. They take these plea agreements thinking that it's, going to save them some time and stuff. And unfortunately, they are encouraged to take that plea.
It doesn't. It comes back and bites you in the butt.
It does.
I don't know how many times I've heard about this.
But does going into family court not bite you in the butt in the first place? And that's the problem that I'm having with this, man. I listen to this guy right here. He's broke down. He's sitting here crying. He feels like he is on the end of his rope, doesn't know where to go. And it's a dad that's there, obviously, because he's trying and he doesn't have equal rights. Yeah. But this is also another reason why, like, guys, I've kind of changed my tune. Like I said, I might get a little flack for this. I don't really care. What would 50-50 legislation being passed help in a case like this? What it would make the starting point. When we talk about these allegations and this bias against the dads, I heard you just say, hey, man, take it like a man. Well, that gives that whole new meaning, right? When we go into family court, take it like a man, because this is what you're going to get most of the times. Here are some of the things that you can do to maybe get around this. The whole system is bullcrap, dude. I mean, it just is. 50-50, guys. As long as we got this bias inside a family court, as long as these false allegations are not being punished, not going to do anything. And I'm very afraid of these states that are actually going for 50-50 right now before getting consequences for false allegations. Because my fear is you get in 50-50, we're going to fight you tooth and nail about those consequences for false allegations, because that really is the head of the spear right now. That is the silver bullet that I can use against you. Listen to these things that these guys are going through. And I mean, when we see the percentage of these cases that are going through unfounded and unprosecuted, these people get away from it scotch-free. Dude,
yeah,
I'm having to keep out of my mouth right now what I really want to say, because we're supposed to be a dad show, but this system just pisses me off so bad, man. This is ridiculous.
We've talked about this tons of times. If they would just prosecute for perjury, then none of this stuff would be going on. None of you dads would be going through this. And that's why 50-50 shared parenting is so important. If you're going to go to final trial, perfect, do it. But don't start one parent, and it doesn't matter, men, women, whatever. Don't start them off here Whenever, if you just gave them 50-50 to start out with, and then figure out final trial, who's being the better parent and who's not being the better parent. But they won't do it because it just doesn't make any money. And what it does is it actually, if you think about it, it keeps the nuclear family together, because who's going to want to get divorced if when you leave the marriage, you're not getting child support, you're having to share the kids 50% of the time, you might as well just stay in the marriage. It incentivizes the nuclear family rather than what's going on now.
Dude, don't get me wrong. I think 50-50 is where it needs to be in equality. But what does 50-50 do with these false allegations? If anything, if we start getting that 50-50 in there and you've got one of these parents that wants to hold these things over somebody's head, what good does 50-50 parenting do for false allegations?
Nothing. It'll probably make it worse.
Even worse.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's just the reality here. It's not to talk down on anybody's efforts. You listen to these false allegations that are coming in here, guys. If that becomes the way to get the upper hand in court, which it already is, but now, especially since we're on a level playing field, and I need it even more, it doesn't change the game. It changes how they play it. I'm afraid that is going to become the next biggest move that is going to happen. We need consequences for false allegations, man. I mean, this is getting out of hand, guys.
That's 100%.
Yep. I'm going to get on to this next voicemail. Keep them coming, guys. 762-441-0281.
Hey, Dad Talk today. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I wanted to bring something to the attention of all the folks on. Dad Talk today has a reach of 600,000 likes, followers, and across the different platforms, but yet still having issues getting out into the larger markets and getting into all these different areas. One idea I had is to invite everybody to personally share the page with their friends list on Facebook and Instagram and things like that. It's easy to do. You just go in there and then share the page with individuals, inviting them to join the show. As far as a vent or a gripe, I see, content that's out there, but I don't see a lot of people watching it, consuming it, sharing it, having access to a lot of that data. I don't see that a lot. And that is one way to get the information out there. Unfortunately, people that are in the movement, we're an echo chamber, but getting it out to people that are going to consume it and then, of course, respond and become part of the movement. And it's going to, unfortunately, require personal involvement, which people in that 6 degrees of separation, Dad Talk today and people there can't reach everybody. That's where we have our faithful listeners and followers getting in touch with their resources and their contacts and personally inviting them. And that's something I would ask everyone to do on a daily basis. Find 5 or 10 and forward that on to your friends. But the other thing is really just, the type of material that's being produced, a lot of time, money, and effort doing that. And I would ask people to like and share that information, comment on it, talk about things you would like to see, so that people have direction on where they can go to make this better for everybody. Love the show. Can't wait to your weekend show when that cool guy's on. Hope everybody's having a great Friday. We'll talk to you all later.
That sounded like a pissed off parent, if you ask me. I think I knew who that was.
Right?
Yeah.
This was interesting. How do I call in?
I sent him the voicemail line. I wanted to hear what's going on with that. Might have to get them to check that out after the show. But Jonathan Vanderhagen, there's another case, guys. We're talking about like 6 years since Killian died. And this father has never seen any justice as to what happened when his son was even put in jail for speaking about it. And now the trauma that comes off of him when he's trying to talk about it, because he's wanting to get it off his chest. He's wanting to fight for his kid. But the last time he did it, he ended up in jail. Could you imagine? Guys, there's people that are going through some stuff you just got no idea. I mean, everything that we're talking about right now obviously is bad, but imagine your child dying being put in jail for speaking about it, and then getting out and never seeing any justice for it.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, you got to encourage these guys, keep speaking up. I have to believe when people see his story with Killian, nothing ever happened to that judge. So I'm very curious to see what that caller is going to have to say on that. We'll definitely make sure that we check that out.
Oh yeah. Like I say, come to the support group if you're new to our group and you don't know anything about us. This is Dad Talk Today, but we have Dad Talk Today support group that you can come in, get advice on your case, or something that you're going through. We're there to support you emotionally, mentally. We have a lot of advocates in there. Come in if you need something.
Yep. All right, guys, got one more voicemail in here, 762-441-0281.
Hello, my name is Chris Parker. I'm calling from Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm going through the issue of my kid's mom not letting me see my kids due to the fact that I had another son who is currently 6 years old. And since I've met him, which was a surprise to me because his mother was keeping me from him because of some reason, but being that I have this 6-year-old son, my older kids who are 18, 16, and 14, their mothers is keeping my kids from me. I haven't seen them since my mother passed in November of 2021, and she's been keeping my kids from me ever since. So trying to figure out, do you know of anything I could do besides the court, because they're giving me the run around on seeing my kids. And she's not letting me see my kids, and she's blocking me on everything, and there's nothing I can really do to see my kids. Just trying to figure out what I can do. If you guys have any help, any advice, I'll be truly grateful. Thank you.
Dude, what?
So she's blocking him, so he has custody, I guess, but she's just blocking from seeing his kid, from what I understand, right?
I was having a hard time following it, to be honest with you. I was just about to ask you what you thought on it.
Yeah. So if she's blocking you from seeing your kid and you have a court order, they have to go by the court order. In Texas, it's called child interference, and it's a state jail felony. Now, state jail felony is actually the least of all felonies. So there's capital felonies, then there's first, second, third, and then then there's state jail felonies. They're all felonies nonetheless, but if she's blocking you, a court's not just going to automatically do something. You have to trigger something to happen. So you have to file it's called a motion for enforcement. And in that motion, you actually have to go in there and put, on this day I showed up, she didn't show up, put a copy of the decree in there. Now, a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll rack up about 10 of these, and then they'll go in and file a motion for enforcement. Well, the problem with that is if you make a mistake on one of them, they can strike your whole document. So what I recommend to do, again, I'm not a lawyer, but this is just what we've done in the past, is you can go in, and each time that she didn't give you your time with the child, you file separate ones. It's just basically copy and paste the date is all you're doing on each one, but you file each one as a separate instance. And when you do that, then the judge actually has to go in there and give a penalty for this one, for this one, for this one, for this one. If you do it all on one swoop, then the judge can just go in there and you have more of a chance in striking the whole thing, or the judge only being able to give one penalty for that whole thing. So I would recommend just each time, it's called a motion for enforcement, and you really don't have to have a cop or anybody show up or a police report. It helps if you get a police report. And if a policeman doesn't want to show up, what you do is you go to the police, the police office, police station, and go in there and say, I want to file a report. And then they'll take your report and then just get the report number. And then you can attach each one of those report numbers that it was, just say that it was, in Texas, it's 25.03, and it's called, I forgot what it's called. Anyway, but that's what you end up filing is that they're messing with your time. So.
Absolutely. Hey, I just want to bring this up because, and you know what? It's one of those that you hate to talk about on the screen, but you guys need to know about this. And so I want to really be able to clarify what we're talking about when we say this. William Joseph Zotnik said, one step at a time. 50-50 is the start we've been fighting for. False allegations, child support, and all other concerns are coming up next. No, that's backwards, dude. And I used to think this way. Let me tell you something. If you think it's been hard fighting for 50-50, then get 50-50 and then go try to get consequences for false allegations. We need to have consequences for false allegations right now. Perjury is already supposed to be against the law. But if you don't have consequences for false allegations when 50-50 goes through, you could be opening up Pandora's box. Mark my words. I'm telling you, dude, if the way to get custody then becomes, because we got this presumption of equality, the silver bullet is going to be stocked up in ammo like you've never seen before. I promise you, I want 50-50, but you are going to need both of these. And I think you got to do it in order. Consequences for false allegations. You can start using that now. That at least starts cutting down on the silver bullet. And then by the time you get 50-50, you got something to sink your teeth into. If your ex makes this allegation against you so that she can get that upper hand and you can prove that she was lying, there needs to be a consequence for that. Right now with 50-50, it does nothing against the bias towards dads. A lot of people trying to get 50-50 in tell you not to even talk about dads in the first place. I'm telling you, dude. We are getting the cart before the horse with that one. And that's been really hard for me to come to grips with, Robert, because that's what we've been fighting for years. I'm not saying I'm not going to fight for it. I'm saying we're backwards here. Get those consequences in, because I actually think those bills would be a little bit easier to get in. You want to know why? Politicians are going through this crap too, man. Look what's going on in their campaigns when somebody brings somebody from 20, 30 years ago. Oh, he did this, he did this. These people end up losing their campaigns and they have to get off. Their reputation's tarnished. It's ruined. They want to see consequences for false allegations too.
Yes.
But without doing that first, we could be opening up Pandora's box. That's my thought on it.
And you don't even have to say it's consequences for false allegation. If they would just follow the law and tell them, look, you need to prosecute for perjury. It's already a felony. Tell them to prosecute for perjury. That would stop like 50% of this automatically.
Well, I mean, dude, yes, it's supposed to be against the law already. So is 2503, they're, custodial interference. We see that they rarely do it. But when trying to get this through, like I said, I don't think that should be that hard. If you look at how many restraining orders and how many of these allegations are going unfounded, you have the research on your side, which is no different. We've got the research on our side with 50-50. The only reason that there is a fight for 50-50 is they think that it's going to mess with the child support and the Title 4D money. That's where that's coming from. The false allegations, that needs to be taken out, because if you don't, it's not going to change the game. It's just going to change how they play it. And I'm going to tell you, if we do it like that, they might be able to put you in checkmate even easier. You understand?
If you're here in Texas, if you're here in Texas, just so you know, you can entrap somebody, because basically that's what you're doing if you plan ahead on this stuff. So if you know in Texas that you cannot get primary custody of your child if there's family violence, what are you going to do? You're going to gaslight that person. You're going to get them to do whatever crazy stuff. You can just call the cops, and all of a sudden you have a family violence charge, and it doesn't matter what you do. You are not going to be primary in that child's life.
Well, I got a real life example sitting with me on the screen. How many allegations did you go through, Robert?
43 plus.
Okay. Now, what would 50-50 have done in your case against those allegations?
They never would have even came up. I mean, well, I take that back. They may have came up. They would have tried it, right? Like, people try this stuff all the time because they can see what they can get away with. But, if the lawyers didn't know how to tell, their clients on how to play games, most people would be scared to go in and do half the stuff that, these parents do. But I really think it's mostly a lot of the lawyers teaching these people how to play games.
Look, dude, I think a lot of these attorneys are trash. I'm not going to lie to you. I do. But do I think that there's some of these moms or, occasionally dads that need somebody to encourage them to make these false allegations? No. That type of person is out to assassinate your character in any way possible. A lot of these allegations get made before they even go and talk to the attorney. That's the basis for going to talk to the attorney. They are not going to need somebody to prompt them. Now, my fear is if that gets started and then that becomes the easiest way to get the upper hand, I think you're going to have more encouragement from the attorneys. But at the same time, you're still going to have these crazy psychos out there that want to use that as their way to get their winning side.
Yep.
It's just is my thought on it. And I'm saying, dude, I think we could be really getting into dangerous territory and people need to be talking about it. We're not saying not to get 50-50, but we need to get them all. Now, child support, I do believe afterwards, yes, that could be a conversation a little bit later on down the line. We'll get to it. We got to get our wins while we can. Let's start in those consequences for false allegations in, because I'm telling you, man, I am seeing it more and more every single day. And guys, it's not the only thing. Like the Jeff Younger case, that is becoming one of those. The scary thing is in a lot of these cases that to defend yourself, it's became politically incorrect to say that which what is on your mind.
Yep.
Okay. It's going to get to a point where we're going to strip you of your money. And if you talk back or even try to defend yourself, this is what's going to happen. You guys need to be checking Caden's Law out right now. They're talking about not wanting you to be able to say parental alienation or use an expert in the first place. And they're basing that off of one case where it was the dad that did this to a child, right? Well, what about all these cases that you've been seeing on Dad Talk where it's the moms that are doing this? It is a very one-sided system, man. We got to be very, very careful. Eric, you've supported all the dads all over the country. You've been to the legislation sessions. Are false allegations part of any of the bills? No, they're not in there. But I'll tell you, when we went to Iowa, there was a representative, Eddie Andrews, that got in a bill for consequences for false allegations. He was the only one I'd ever seen trying to do that. And guess what? He got it in pretty easily, man. Pretty easily. I mean, this shouldn't be a big ask. Robert, you got a bill going in right now that I think is pretty much
here in Texas, it's called time taken, time back. Whenever you go through one of these allegations, the court, if there's an open CPS investigation, what the court does is, if somebody brings it to their attention, they basically take the child away from you and get a protective order, restraining order. When that happens, you're losing time with your child automatically, and they will do this 100% of the time. If you have an open CPS investigation, 100% of the time, you'll get a protective order, restraining order. Now, when they do this, it takes CPS 30 to 60 days to do their investigation. And then once they're done and they rule it out, even if everything was ruled out, you still have to get another court date, go back in to reinstate your time. Now, most of the time, in my case, it was 100% of the time. So when you go back in to ask for that time back, the judge is like, well, we did it on precaution. Court did it. Let's just move forward. Here's your time to move forward. We'll go with what the decree is, but they never give you the time back. They have the discretion to do it right now. They just don't, because they don't, they just want to move forward. Well, the bill that I have is called time taken, time back. Whenever they do this and they return the child, they also return the time. And what it does is it takes the incentivization out of making the allegation in the first place if you're returning the time when you return the child. So it's good because it doesn't hurt the mom or the dad or who made the false allegations, although I think that they should be fined or jailed or some kind of repercussion. But because they don't want to do that ever in legislation, because if a child's really being hurt, they want them to be able to, anybody to report it without having to be worried about being thrown in jail or a fine. So my bill is very, very pretty, and it's just called time taken, time back. When you return the child, you return the time. And that is what will cut down on a lot of these allegations, since they're not prosecuting for perjury and whatever else.
Yeah, man. I mean, and that's kind of a consequence for false allegations too. You make false allegations, I'm going to get my time back. It didn't work. If you ask me, when getting in a 50-50 bill, the false allegations thing should probably just be coupled in with it, so you do both at the same time. Might not happen that way. Look at the fight right now for 50-50. If we could at least get something going in across the country that says, if you lie on somebody, if you say that they did this, that could completely ruin their life, take their kids away from them, you will be punished. That should be freaking common sense, man. But I guess we're talking about a court that doesn't make sense in the first place. So,
Well, they won't make any money. I mean, that's the problem, right? So, the other thing that this time back bill does is it unstops CPS. It unstops the court system. CPS, and like in my case, it was 43 times that they had to investigate whatever. If a child is really being hurt, and that's just one person, you expand that over millions of people. How much resources are eaten up just by games in court? Whenever you take all that out of the equation, then they actually have the resources to make sure that these children are safe, that they're investigating real problems and not, this family court BS that everybody's, going through.
Here is a case that got brought to my attention yesterday. After 5-year-old boy dies in House of Horrors, Michigan senator wants changes to CPS. This was a case. 5-year-old Ethan Belcher died. His parents have been charged with his murder, and new details about the horrific life he was forced to live have come out, and it all could have been stopped. But here's the thing. What did they say here? His parents have been charged with murder. His mom and the stepdad have been charged with murder. In this particular case, I believe it was the aunt that knew something was going on, Robert, and she had been going and trying to fight for custody of those kids. CPS wouldn't do anything, wasn't listening. And then you see the cases where CPS are just so quick to come in there and get those kids and take them. But in the cases where they need their attention, this is what's going on. But I hate the way the media does that. The parents have been charged with murder. No, mom and stepdad. Leave dad out of it. If he didn't have anything to do with it, leave him out of it. But
I just got an idea. Like that case alone. So those cases would be good to show the Judiciary Committee in my bill, because I'm like, look, here's where CPS got it wrong, that they could have got it right if they had the resources, had they not been investigating all this other BS. Here's another case. Here's another case. Here's another case. If they would just had the resources, they could have saved this child's life. They didn't, because they were too busy playing games over here with the family court system.
Oh, God. Maybe this is what I need to start doing. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Sometimes it's hard to just come on here and improv what's going on. But I'm just doing a quick little scroll and going through these. That one that I just showed you was something that was brought up to me yesterday. But here's another case that's going on. Crap. Let me stop that. Is my screen still showing?
Yes.
Okay.
No. Your screen? No, it's just
hold up. For some reason, I clicked on something. Okay. CPS refusing to answer questions after report details failures leading to the death of 7-year-old Troy Kohler. This is down in Houston, Texas. Questions are mounting about how a 7-year-old boy died and how the warning signs of abuse were missed, as the agency tasked with protecting him isn't giving any answers. Troy, 7 years old, was found dead in his adoptive parents' washing machine back in July. The adoptive parents, Jermaine and Tiffany Thompson, have since been arrested and charged in his death. The agency tasked with protecting him, Child Protective Services, has yet to answer any questions about the case. Why would they be failing to talk about any of the questions of a case like that, Robert? There is a child, guys, in a washing machine. All right. This is not long after hearing the other case that went down last month, where they found the child dead up under the stairs. They found the corpse with mom and stepdad at the house. There was another child that was very malnourished that it was about to happen to as well. These are people that were begging CPS to do something. What is CPS doing, Robert?
They're too busy investigating cases of false allegations. And, the first thing that CPS asks you when you call in to report a case, the first thing they ask you, not are you okay, not whatever. They say, hey, the person that you're calling about or the family that you're calling about, are they in family court or a custody battle right now? That is the first question they ask. And do you know why they ask you that? Because then it kind of puts them on alert that, okay, this is, I need to pay attention here on what's going on. They wouldn't ask that question if it wasn't the most calls that they get. They're being used as a weapon in family court, and it's disgusting because they're basically taking resources away from, you know, an organization that is there to help kids.
Dude, check this out. Whistleblower claims system is failing children under the care of CPS. This one in San Antonio, back in Texas again. Last year, more than 500 children in the state's care spent at least one night in an unlicensed state-run facility. That includes CPS caseworkers, offices, hotels, and other places. Investigative reporter Yami Virgin shows us that one more of those places in Bexar County is like, according to federal monitors, institutionalized abuse is what federal judge Janice Jack says the Texas Department of Family Protective Services is doing to children without placements, or CWOP, under the care of Child Protective Services. People need to know that the system is failing these children, not just in the education, the sense of education, but also medically and physically. And if they're supposed to be the guardian, the parent, there's an extreme, that failure. The agency is failing these children, and it's being brushed under the rug. Look, man, that's a judge that's talking, guys. Being brushed under the rug. A whistleblower with the state who works with these children agreed to speak with us under a condition to protect their identity. You guys can find that article if you want to read more about it. But here's the thing that a lot of you guys don't get to see. Robert, we've been to the political conferences. One of the things that blows my mind is sitting down and talking to these politicians, and they'll tell you, like, I think CPS is human trafficking. CPS is horrible. You know, why aren't you guys talking about it? They know it's happening. It's like it just keeps getting brushed under the rug, and we're not going to focus on it. If you know what the problem is and you're not addressing it, that concerns me, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Angela Paxton, she's our state senator here in Texas. She's actually, one of her biggest platforms is reforming CPS for this exact reason. All the kids being taken away, all the funds, the incentivization, you know, with monetary stuff. She's looking at reforming the whole system. She's amazing.
You know what? I did a whole week on child support not long ago because there was people that was asking us to talk about it. I won't lie to you guys. This is such a big rabbit hole, and there's so many different places to go. It's hard to give attention to one thing for too long. I'm going to do an episode next week. You guys remind me on it. We're going to talk about the failures of CPS, where we go and get like collections of these cases and show you guys just how bad this organization is failing children. Because when you see stuff like this, dude, there is no shortage of articles coming out where these kids are dying. I mean, we're not just talking about who's got custody or the money or the failures inside the court. We're talking about children's lives that are being lost. But then I see some of these cases that CPS didn't even need to be nowhere near, and they'll take their kids up like that.
Oh, yeah.
It almost like make that one make sense for me. It doesn't, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Paul. Rip the price tags off, man. Rip the price tags off. The fact that there is an incentive based upon child support, based upon divorce. There is an incentive to make sure that the dad's not in the home. There is an incentive for these kids that come into the system to be sent back out. There is an incentive to make you go into the family court in the first place to get rights to your child that you brought into this world, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
That's a human rights issue. There's a lot of people that argue that position also, that you have inalienable rights. And that to be a parent, you can't take those rights away without going through some kind of due process, whatever. And they do it all the time. How can you file? You know, that's the biggest thing. How can you file? How can anyone file? Anyone, a no-fault divorce. That means nobody is at fault and you're not giving 50-50. That makes no sense.
I mean, seriously.
Why do these guys?
Why? I mean, that's my question though. Like, why do these guys have to go into family court in the first place? Can you guys answer that for me?
It's a whole money-making thing. I mean, I can be on it all day, but you get a judge to answer that. Judge, she just filed a no-fault divorce. That means she's not at fault. That means I'm not at fault. Why are you putting me way down here? Why are we not equal? Why?
My thing is the family courts isn't going to go away completely, and I don't think they need to. There's going to be cases like this that need to be heard. This is cases where CPS failed. They were needed, but they failed, and they didn't do what was right by these children. Well, now if you went in there and you got some of these cases where mom and dad just aren't getting along, but they could, and we took the incentives out of it, maybe those cases could stay out of the court so you could come over here and protect these babies that are losing their lives, these parents that are losing their lives, and get into the cases that need to be heard. But there should be no incentives. Even in those cases, there should be no incentives going back to the state based off of child support or the destruction of a family or a child being adopted out. Like, why are we giving incentives to adopt the children out that have been taken by the state? Allegedly, from what I'm hearing. And dude, I've had the politicians educate me on this more than anybody. When I sit down with them and they talk about like the human trafficking angle and how CPS is involved in it, they will tell me more than anybody else, but I never see them saying it on their platform, ever. I want to talk about economy. I'm going to talk about abortion and all these other little things that we hear nonstop.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to change.
There is, man.
I saw Deborah's post that Buchanan's Law. I have no idea what Buchanan's Law is. I tried to research it just now, but I don't see what that is.
Wayne, what did he say? Hell, in Texas, a CPS agent was recorded telling a 14-year-old girl to do prostitution for money. Dude, so I've had on one of the CPS workers from there in Texas, and he was like, dude, it was 3 of us in like this gigantic area. We were told to get through the cases and shut them down as quick as possible. So we made a lot of bad judgment calls on families that we should have never been there in the first place. But there was other cases that they really needed us, and we had no time because we had this crunch on us to get this case closed.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're putting these limitations on these offices. We need numbers. Come on. And then you're gonna have a short staff to do it with, and people that aren't trained. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I heard from him, nice guy and everything, but these guys weren't trained to be going through those type of situations. And they're the ones out there dealing with your families, man. Is that what you're paying your tax dollars for? Is this kind of crap? That's how bad these politicians suck. They're the ones that set up the CPS in the first place. They're the ones that set up this system to operate and do what it's doing right now anyway. We want to go tell them to go fix it. You're going to have to bring up these failures to them, guys. And like I said, they know that this is going on. That system has run amok for too long.
It's crazy, man. You know what's crazy is they're lining their pockets right now, right? Think about it. So all these judges, lawyers, whatever, are lining their pockets with, with what's going on. They play the games. They teach their clients how to play the games. The judges go along with it. In the future, their own children, their own grandchildren, they as grandparents are going to be alienated from the games that they're playing and incentivizing and profiting on right now. Their future generations are going to reap the after effects of what they're doing when they have a chance right now to change everything. All these politicians, they can change everything right now. The $25,000 little bonuses that they get from these, committees and whatever else, it's nothing to what your children are going to pay in the future and what you're going to pay and what they're going to have to go through mentally, financially, on just lining your pockets right now.
So there's another show that we're going to have to address next week, guys. And as much as I can't stand politics, and we're calling out the politicians, they're doing things right now behind the scenes, whether you like it or not. Once it goes in there, it's going to affect me and you, okay? It's going to affect your kids. Dwayne Ward just put it down there. Texas already introduced the retroactive child support bill, which means you will pay child support upon conception. Guys, that is dangerous. Dangerous. Now imagine It's hard enough on the child support that they're putting you on. But imagine getting put on this child support that you already can't afford, and then they come and say, you're 9 months in arrears. We need you to go back, and we need to pay you to pay this now, or you're going to lose your license. You're going to go to jail, or any of this. The system is going to make it 10 times worse. What is going on in the state of Texas? That's why I can't get behind a lot of these conservatives now. I've talked to them. But you are like 12% above the national average in failing these fathers that are trying to be in their children's lives. These are not deadbeats that are running away. They're the ones that are coming to your system, and they're leaving without time with their kids, and you're taking every bit of their money. And now you continue to make legislation that does that and takes your kids away from them. This is one of the most dangerous bills I have ever seen in my life. And guys, I don't know if this particular one does it. There's one of these child support upon conception bills, these retroactive bills, that says you will have to pay from the second she says she's pregnant, and she doesn't even have to take a paternity test. Tell me how that is not biased. The only person that knows whether you're the dad or not is going to be the mom. And sometimes she might not even know, but she can say that you're the dad. You're going to have to pay it. You'll probably be kept away from your kid. You're going to become a visitor if it's your kid or not. And then you're going to have to go back and pay these 9 months, and they don't even have to prove it. How is that not slanted towards the men and fathers? But what did they tell you when you go in there to the legislation? Don't mention dads. Don't mention fathers. Bullshit, dude. That's the reason why the system is the way it is. This bill is in there right now. I guarantee you, they filled that Capitol with people begging for shared parenting, and then look what happened. What's going to happen when our people don't show up for this and they go ahead and pass it? From what I've seen there in the Texas legislation, especially on that Judiciary Committee, they're not going to have any problem passing something like this, guys. I don't think so. Not one bit whatsoever. We need to be on top of this now. I want to do a whole episode on this retroactive child support upon conception. And I want these calls going into your legislators. I want them phones to ring off the hook so much that they say, we won't ever think about doing something like this again. Could I get you guys participation in that? Because we're going to need it. It's going through right now. And if you don't do it, you're going to be on the defense, man. That's what happens. We play defense after this crap goes in and says, oh, this is the problems with it. Anybody that could see that bill that's got a brain knows that that is going to be disastrous. But what they're doing is they're trying to use that for the Roe v. Wade stuff. Now, because we're saying you can't have abortion, now we're going to make sure that they go back. Look, we took care of you. No, you took care of yourself. Because if they go back 9 months in child support, guess who that benefits? It benefits the states. Why don't you go and present the argument to the states? Well, if you're wanting to get that 9 months of child support and I'm supposed to support my child, then I should get equal rights, and you shouldn't get any Title 4D money out of it. Then see if their tone changes. But guys, it's on its way right now.
You know what I think about it? And I was thinking about this the other day, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. So I'm like, okay, if they get this child support upon conception, there's also another bill that they're introducing for children 12 years or older can choose where they live, right? Think about this one. So if a child can say where they live at 12 years or older, that's making them make an adult decision. Now, what's going to come after this? To be able to choose whether they can transgender at 12 years old. If you're already creating a law that says that they can choose where they live, you're making them an adult. The next bill that comes in after that is they're going to say, okay, well, if you can choose, if you're an adult, how about we make a bill that says you can transgender or whatever else? If you can make adult decisions, then how about that? I think that's where that other bill is going to.
Dude, man, if what Dwayne's saying right now is it could pass off, he said, be sure to note that the bills have no begin date on them, meaning they can go back decades and do it for them. Cases that are already out of the system or that have been going for a while, they can go back into those cases and say, hey, because this law passed, here's 9 extra months. Do you know what I mean? Dude, the amount of money that the state of Texas is making off of this, They are not blind. They are not ignorant to you. They are taking you as a group of dads that aren't going to speak up and that they're going to get it through and that you're going to pay it. You're going to be angry, but there is nothing you can do about it. How do you feel knowing that there is people out there that are getting involved in your lives like this, claiming to be about the family? These are the protective services that are supposed to be serving your kids, and your kids are dying and they are profiting off of it. Dude, I'm pissed off, man. I am pissed off. How can you make this make sense, dude? I've said that several times in this show, but these guys know about it because they're setting records. They've been setting records for years on this.
Yep.
We can't, like, man, I know I sound very angry. I am, damn it. I've got a right to be angry. I know what those bills are out to do for these families. And for any of those Republicans in there running that are supposed to be running for the best interest of the child, that is bullcrap, man.
Yeah, we have to protect our children.
You ran to protect families. You are failing those families. You are failing the state of Texas. You are not conservatives one bit whatsoever, dude. And I don't care. I'll call out both sides of the aisle, but I'm very disappointed because the conservatives are the ones that play both sides of the aisle. Oh man, the fatherless rate, and this is going on, this is going on. And when it comes time for them to do something about it, it's crickets because they make too much freaking money on it. I am so sick and tired of these fake ass politicians, man. If this legislation goes through, man, Texas, you're already in a bind, but it's about to get 10 times worse.
Yeah. You know, the other thing that does is right now they can retro child support and medical support and everything else anyway. So the judge has the discretion on that. This bill just makes it even worse because it's upon conception. So then they can retro it back, even if you're in a 3-year custody battle right now, right? Or your case started 3 years ago. They can literally retro it back to conception now. Like if this bill goes through, there's 9 more months of, payments or whatever. Now, what they're not looking forward on is that when if you're barely making it by right now and all these dads are making it by, basically what's happening is if they retro that goes on in 30 days after they retro it, and it goes to the Attorney General's office. That actually gets reported to your credit report. That means once it goes on there, you're not going to be able to get a house. You're not going to be able to get a credit card, or if you do, the rates are going to be out the roof. So you're going to end up paying. It's going to basically cripple you even more so, especially these younger teenagers that are just starting out. Think about it. If you were 20 years old and you end up getting somebody pregnant and you're trying to do the right thing and you got a job, how can you get ahead when your credit is going to be ruined 30 days from that decision? Because you're not going to pay it off. You're not going to be able to pay it off. If they retro 9 months of child support, even at $500 or whatever it is, I mean, you're looking at several $1,000s that's going to be immediately marked on your credit report, and your credit score is just going to tank. They're not thinking ahead on all this stuff.
Yeah, it just makes me so upset, man. Here we go. Let's bring it up. Let's show you the guy that's introducing it. Representative Jeff Leach. That's Jeff Younger saying on this. All right. This is the legislation that he is presenting. Holding fathers responsible. Texas law must safeguard innocent preborn Texans, and it must also reflect our strong commitment to support Texas women and their children. Likewise, Texas fathers must be responsible for the support of their children, and Texas laws should be changed to ensure the legal requirements for Texas fathers, including all financial support obligations to the child and mother, commence at the time of conception. Okay, notice, what does that first line say right there at the end? Texas law must safeguard innocent preborn Texans, and it must also reflect our strong commitment to support Texas women and their children. So you're telling me that dads, I mean, this right here is one of the most biased bills that I've ever seen. You're basically saying you're only there to protect women and children. Any of the dads that are going through this, like, tough luck. They're putting it all back on your backs again. This is the bullcrap that we're going through. You know what?
What
Jeff
about safeguarding men? What about
Hold up. I got something, Robert. Jeff Leach, JEFFLEACH. You guys find that Facebook. And I want you to go down there in the comments on that about holding the fathers responsible and tell him I have invited him to Dad Talk. There is a platform of almost 750,000 parents that would love to hear what you've got to say right now. And you know what? I'll have conversation. I'll be nice. I'll keep it down, but I'd love to hear you justify the bullcrap that I just read on that bill. It is politicians like that, dude, that is creating it. And if I'm wrong, come and talk to me. Go ahead, Robert. Sorry.
Yeah. What about safeguarding fathers? What about, if the woman gets an abortion? One of the biggest things on that bill, there was 3 bullet points. The biggest one that stuck out to me was that the mother can name the father, and it's at the mother's discretion for a DNA test. That is huge. You already know from Carnell how much paternity fraud is out there. And now this is incentivizing, when you do this, on top of all that, now there's money incentivization on top of, paternity fraud.
He's just basically saying, like, look, we're giving you the control. The dad's automatically going to pay child support. You're going to be the default parent, and he's going to be responsible for it. And we're going to go back retroactive. We got to hold these fathers responsible. What? I was just down there in Arlington, Texas, Jeff Leach, with Tyrone Darling, who got shot by his baby's mama. Is that what you call holding them responsible? Those are the people that you want to take money from? Chris Clay, the money he spent. What about you, Robert Garza? What about Jeff Morgan? What about Jeff Younger? What about David Henderson, who got to see his dying son for a couple of hours? You guys have treated these guys like products, and then you claim to be about families. You're not about families. You're about what makes the best interest of your wallets, and that's it. And I'd love for you to, like I said, come on here. I'll give you the platform. Let's talk. But you got to be really careful when talking about these bills. I haven't got into that bill yet, but there's several of these child support upon conception bills that came after this Roe v. Wade decision. Some of them say that there is a paternity test. Some of them say that there isn't. Okay, like Marco Rubio said that it would. Now, look, I don't think there would be any guy out there that if they had equality, if they had equality and they had rights to their children, they had a paternity test and they proved that it was their kids, but you recognize from the very beginning upon conception that he is the dad. And if we're going to be doing this 50% of the time, he would just help and support the time where the kid wasn't there. I don't think that they would have any problem with those bills, but that's not the way you write them. What are you doing in any of these bills that protects that father's relationship with their children? You don't. They end up with no time so that they pay more money. It's very obvious the way they write these bills. What about any of that is saying we're holding fathers responsible, but we're also protecting fathers' relationships with their kids? You guys will be the same ones when you have shootings like you did down there in Uvalde, Texas, talking about one of the problems with the mass shooters is that they came from fatherless homes. Well, guess who created those? You damn politicians did. You did. You're a big part of that problem.
You know what? I think the child support upon conception would be great if they also put in there, I don't care. I mean, let's just take me, for example. This is my own opinion. I wouldn't mind paying child support upon conception if there's also in that same language, I get 50-50. Okay, done. Let's do it. They're not going to do it.
The right to parent my child, not just pay for my child. Give me the right to parent my child. Say that I'm the father, make sure that I have verification that it was my child and I'm not getting screwed. Make sure that there is consequences for false allegations, protect the family unit. If they can't be together anymore, make sure that the kid is getting the best interest, which is to have both parents equally and to take out that fight. And I don't think any of these dads would have any problem getting behind you. You're wanting to screw them.
Yeah. I don't remember what the language was, but if you just turn that same language into, supporting parents, right? Both parents and the child. Both parents should support the child, not just financially, because that's all that bill does. Emotionally, mentally. Like if they would just put all that same stuff and that language in there to support, for that parent to support that child in all ways, not just financially, I think that would be an amazing bill. But they're not going to do it because it's not about supporting your child mentally or emotionally.
Well, in order to say that you're holding Texas fathers responsible, so you need this bill that is going to affect every father out there because they're not responsible, then Jeff Leash, you must be a horrible father. Okay, are you a horrible father? Do you need to have your time taken away from your kids? Do you need to pay for them? Oh no, I'm still with mine. I don't know what the excuse would be, but if you wasn't with your wife, or you're saying that she should get the majority of the time, this is how much you should pay, that you need to go back retroactively and everything. Are you willing to put your feet in those same shoes? I guarantee you, no. If you love your kids, and if you believe that you're a good dad, there is no way that you can look at these bills and think that this is okay, man. There's just not. I am shocked at how far we've let it go in Texas, man.
I think that's the other thing is, you ask the legislators, okay, so I understand you have a nuclear family, you've never been divorced, but if you do get divorced, would you mind splitting all your assets, seeing and becoming a visitor to your child and only seeing them 6 days a month? You think that's okay? They're gonna be like, well, no, we don't have that. We already, we have a prenup that says if we get divorced, then it's 50-50 or whatever. Well, why would you have a prenup, or why would you even think that 50-50 is great for you, but it's not great for everyone? That makes no sense.
Where is the incentives to keep the family together? I want you to think about that. Where is the incentives for strong marriages? What, a break on the taxes? Like for every couple that stays together every year, what incentives are you giving them? I don't see any of that. All of the incentives go back to the state, and it's usually off the destruction of the family. And you act like you're doing this to protect women and children because you know you can benefit off the dads. I'm starting to really believe these guys, they hate fathers, man. They hate fathers, and it's nothing but a money thing to them. They don't care about it.
Let's have a couple of them on here. I'll see if I can get some of these politicians that are introducing some of these bills on here to talk about why it is that they feel that this is so good for Texas families.
Not just Texas, dude. Marco Rubio out of Florida. He's got it coming in. Senator Kevin Cramer. I forget which state he's at. There's multiple versions of that bill going out. And so once you think you've seen one and you know what this one is, it's written completely different. And that's where you guys got to be very vigilant, because they make it confusing for a reason. Every bit of this is confusing. Right now, we could have a full-time team fighting nothing but what's going on with this. But what about the parents and the kids that are losing their lives? What about the CPS issues? What about the child support issues? What about the paternity fraud? We are not organized yet enough as a movement. And what happens is guys like us that come on there, get on the screen. Hey, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? No. Are you? We need some freaking help, man. We need some freaking help, because what's happening? You're probably at work and don't even know any of this is going on. How many of you guys knew about this legislation before you heard about it on this show or some other organization that's trying to sound the alarms on it? I guarantee you, you didn't. It happens behind the scenes, and by that time, it's too late. And because we're not organized enough, really what we need right now is when this show is over, that I go and post that legislation. And guys, we need you to get on this. Get your telephone calls. Make sure you're getting your signatures. Make sure you show up. Are we going to be able to do that? No, because the movement is not organized enough. And I'm not going to try to do the smoke and mirrors, because we need to play strategy. I'm going to be open and honest with you. You need to be sharing these broadcasts. You need to be commenting. You need to be subscribing. And you need to be sending it out to everybody that you can, because you need all hands on deck to fight against stuff like this. Dude, it's so easy for them to sweep us under the rug. Even the 200 parents that was at the Texas Capitol last time, they just swept you right under the rug. Get your expanded standard. Get the hell out of my office. It's what it feels like. It's what it feels like. And then you got what? Get our guys to run. Jeff Younger ran. They gave $2 million to his opponent. Why couldn't they get behind him, Robert? This is a guy that had a worldwide story. He's been on Tucker Carlson. He's getting media, and he was doing most of this for free. Why couldn't you get behind him? Why didn't you want him in there? Because I think it's going to make people ask questions. How did it get here in the first place? The family courts. Jeff would have exposed the family courts, and they don't want that done. Protect the precious. Like I talked about with Smeagol and the Lord of the Rings, protect that precious. Make sure that it's not talked about. Keep it behind the scenes. Those days for me are over, dude. I mean, they are just over. And I'm not going to lie to you. As much as I talk about it, I knew about Marco Rubio's. I knew about Kevin Kramer's. I had heard the rumble about that going on in Texas, but I had no idea that Jeff Leach was doing this until today, because I'm hearing it from another advocate. And now look how pissed off I am about it. I think you guys would be too, but we got to get organized, man.
Yeah, let's see if we can have a couple of these people on here and see if they can talk about their bills. I would love to see their viewpoints on this and why they think it's so good. All of them, about any bill. Any bill to do with family, any bill to do with children, any bill to do with parent rights. I'm
a rational guy. I have had many conversations with politicians, and I think I've done it with a smile on my face and gracious. I can be very nice to people who are innocently ignorant. It's the ones who do this knowing what they're doing that piss me off. But I'd love to have a conversation with you on here. And if you can show us how any of this makes sense, I'm open to it. I'm not coming on here to say I'm right, you're wrong. If you can make sense of it, please do. But this is one of those I look back and it's bullcrap, dude. You know better. I don't expect any of them to show up. Texas Family Law Foundation. I'm sending an invite to you too. The presidents. Come on, Dad Talk. I'd love to talk to you. Maybe tweet out to them. I've seen them picking on our advocates, dude, saying, look, these guys don't even have a platform. Everybody's laughing at them. Nobody's listening to them. They're listening to Dad Talk. Hey, you want a platform? I'm inviting you on. I didn't want your pizza at the Capitol. I'm not going to eat it, but I'll have a conversation with you. This is what we need to start doing. Let's invite those type of people on and have the conversations. Down for it, man. I'm down for it. All right, guys. I guess that's going to be it for the day. We could sit here and ramble on about this stuff, and we do all the time once we get off the shows.
Thank you, everybody. If you need any help, come to the support group, Dad Talk Today support group, and we can help you with your cases and you know, whatever you're going through, whether it's emotional, mental questions, just come in.
Yep. Absolutely. Again, guys, many ways you can support the show down there at the bottom. Dad Talk Today, no spaces. That's Cash App, Venmo, Patreon, super chats and memberships over on YouTube. We got the same thing on Facebook. I've been seeing some of those come through, and thank you so much. Make sure to go check out that store. They're on dadtalktoday.com. Every little bit that you can support, it helps us. One more time, though, man, we got a $500 donation, guys, while I was live on this broadcast towards John Mast. Thank you so much. You know who you are. I'm going to put this down there in the comments. 100% of these proceeds I'm handing straight over to the Mast family and saying, use it. Legal fees, use it. And I'm going to tell you guys, that might sound like a lot of money. 50 grand when you go into the legal system is nothing.
They already know. They already know because they're broke, because they went through it.
So I need your help. I'm going to be putting this out there as much as I can. Please help this family. And dude, there's a lot that rides on this from me, because I'll tell you, I would not be here without them. I said it once before. I can't tell you guys that enough. They've been the listening ear for me. They've encouraged, and they've made sure that I had what I needed to keep this show going. And they gave me the encouragement when I wanted to walk away. Robert, you've seen me in those moments where I'm just like, dude, I'm done. I'm even somewhat kind of in a bad mood with it right now. And that's why I'm a little, fired up about it. When you got kids that are dying, you got parents that are dying, and it feels like these people just keep trying to make this system that's encouraged it. It really makes you go crazy, dude.
Yep. 100%.
It really does. I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes. Like, dude, they're crazy.
I understand. All right. Like, share, subscribe, donate. We need you. We need your help. If you support us, like and share it. Send it to all your friends. We need this message to go out as many people as possible.
All right, guys. We'll see you again in the morning. Hey, everybody. Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us.
like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.